Hey, this is Tim Rosenau with Toby Mac, and you're watching Pro Lessons, and we are going to do a gear review on Paul Reed Smith. I play Paul Reed Smith guitars. I'm endorsed with Paul Reed Smith guitars. A lot of you ask the question, well, do they give you guitars? Yes, they do. I'm very blessed to have a full endorsement with them. That does not mean that I don't like them. I would not play them if I did not love them. Okay, just because you have an endorsement doesn't mean that you're only playing them because they're free. Thankfully, that's not the case with me. They are fantastic guitars, and I'll give you the different price points. Yes, they are a very expensive guitar, but they also make less expensive guitars that are awesome and also guitars that I play. Let's go ahead and start over on this amp. This is actually a Paul Reed Smith amp. The head is called a 2-channel C. It's an EL34 amp with a Cinemag transformer in it. It's very, I would say it's very Marshall-y. The dirty channel is very high gain. You know what? Let me grab a guitar here and play a little bit for you. The dirty channel is very 800E, yeah, to my ear. Let me switch over to that. Okay, and it will get it'll get pretty stinking dirty if you want it to. I'm gonna bump the gain up. Okay, plenty of gain in this amp. That's the dirty channel, and then I'm going to flip to the clean channel, and it's pretty, yeah, I would say it does a Marshall-y thing, but I also would say that it's more glassy, like a Fender at times. Amps are so subjective. I once heard from a producer friend of mine, he said, you know what, when you get to a certain level, amps aren't better or worse, they're just different. The reason I brought this amp is because live with Toby, I play a Mesa Dual Rectifier and a Marshall Plexi. And this amp will do both of those things pretty well in one head. Okay, so the clean channel, I'm breaking it up just a little bit. And if you want to, you can, I'm going to drop the volume down a little bit. You can drive the clean channel and get a nice, nice, real kind of overdriven, beautiful sounding amp. So the cab is 2 vintage 30s. Those are the speakers, and I believe it's called a big mouth cab. It's very deep, very large. It's awesome. So since I have this guitar in my hand, let's go over it. It's a 250. They don't make these anymore, I believe. Actually, I'm pretty sure they don't make a lot of these guitars anymore. But it is, I put a different kind of pickup in it. These are called 5310 pickups, and you could probably order these separately. But the reason I chose these pickups is because they're very bright and chimey and not quite as powerful as a lot of their pickups. I like to underpower some of my pickups, and Paul Reed Smith are generally a very warm, buttery, dark sounding guitar to my ears. And so I wanted a little brighter pickup. So these are the Paul Reed Smith 5310s. Sounds like this. That's a bridge pickup, and you go in the middle, the neck, nice and dark, but still is cutting through. It doesn't get too muddy. All right, very cool. Let's check out another guitar. This guitar here, actually, I'll tell you a little story about it. It looks like the same guitar, but it's actually a little bit different. It's an early Tremonti. They make a special edition Paul Reed Smith for Mark Tremonti, who plays for Alter Bridge. And this was actually before they made that. So I'm not sure how old this guitar is, but it's one of the first ones that I ever got from them 6 or 7 years ago, and it was used when I got it from them. So the pickup in the bridge is a Tremonti. It's modeled after the 500T Gibson, which I have in my 60s reissue Les Paul, so I really love that. It's very hot. It's a very hot pickup. This is an older version of that, so I don't think it's quite as hot as the newer ones, just to give you a heads up on that. And then the neck position is also a Tremonti, but it's I think it's modeled after an old Gibson pickup. I'm really not sure. There's no push-pull coil splitting on this guitar. Very cut and dry, volume and tone. So the backstory on this guitar is interesting. As you can see, it's you probably are noticing, and it might really bother you how dirty my guitars are. I'm not very good at keeping them clean. Sorry for that. This one is clean because I just got it out of the shop. And the reason for that is because I was recently flying on an airline that I will not name. And I got my guitar off the plane, and it looked as though a hand grenade had gone off in the case. I don't know what happened. We still don't know what happened, but the airline was very good about writing me a check and taking care of the damage. So Paul Reed Smith took this guitar a few months ago, stripped it down, completely refinished it, completely reset it up. I think they did a new fret job. They polished the pickups. They redid the wiring. And this whole back looked like someone tied it behind a truck and drug it on pavement for a few miles. And I don't know how they did it, but they redid the binding and basically rebuilt the whole guitar. So thank you, Paul Reed Smith, for doing that. This was a sentimental guitar. This is one of the first guitars I ever played with Toby, and I didn't want to get rid of it. So I'm very thankful that they rebuilt it for me. It's a cool guitar. So let me grab this one. This one is really cool. This is a different body shape, different pick guard. This is a very chimey guitar. I use this for the chimier parts that I need, and I'll try and demonstrate that here with a little delay and reverb. Nice swirly sound. Okay, that's the bridge pickup. The neck pickup is really nice too and warm. In the middle, you get that out of phase sound. Really cool. Okay. Now, one cool thing about this guitar is you can split the coil, which means it goes from a humbucking. This is a low output humbucker, but it is a humbucker right now, and you can split it to a single coil. And the thing that they did really well on this guitar is some guitars where you split the coil, the level drops so drastically and the tone changes so drastically that it's unusable. You either need to dial your setup in for the split coil or the humbucking. Okay, and the cool thing is, to me, okay, that's humbucking, still, and I'm going to split the coil by pulling this out. Okay, still very usable. Still very, not too chimey or thin. I'm going to put him back in. So that's humbucking. You can hear the difference, but it's not so drastic that you can't use it. I use this guitar on songs like City on Our Knees. I think I use it on Made to Love. Anytime I need a swirly or pretty spanky sound, I'll use it on that. I'll show you, I just noticed something that I do that I'm sure other artists are doing, but I've made mistakes before on stage in front of thousands of people because I couldn't see my fretboard. Part of coming to a rock and roll show is lighting, okay? So if you've ever been to a rock and roll show, you know that there are times that the stage goes dark. And when I need to start the next song and I can't see where I am, that can end badly. So what I ended up doing is actually getting some glow-in-the-dark tape and using a hole puncher for paper and punching them out. And then I take the backing off. And the trick is, wipe your fretboard down where you're going to put the dot with a little bit of rubbing alcohol and just put a tiny dot of super glue. Okay, so this is a somewhat permanent thing. If you're afraid of damaging your guitar by doing that, don't do it, because it will leave a little mark. But these are my tools that I use, and Toby's stage is my work field, so I need to be able to see what I'm doing. So that's why I did those. Little tip. Lastly, I've started using this guitar a lot more. This is called a Swamp Ash Special. And this is Paul Reed Smith's answer to kind of the Fender situation. The Swamp Ash is a lot lighter, and this is primarily my funk guitar. It has a 5-blade selector, so you can get that kind of Strat out of phase sound. It also has a coil tap, like on the Starla. I'm not sure if I told you that this guitar was called a Starla. So the Swamp Ash is so versatile. That's the bridge position, and then you can go to the out of phase. This is all humbucking. And then the middle position, front out of phase. Real nice. And then a neck position. Real nice and jazzy. Cool sound. Okay, now if I split the coil, you got a Strat kind of sound. Okay, go to the out of phase position. Okay, and then one of my favorites for funk is the setting I use for backseat driver. So that kind of takes you through some of the guitars, the way I use them. I approach guitars as versatile as I can get them. There is a reason I have a lot of guitars out with Toby. It's because there's a lot of tones required. So that's great. When I show up for other gigs, I try and bring only maybe 2 guitars. I kind of approach thing in the Les Paul Telly style of thing, like a humbucking guitar and a single coil, or a hollow body and a solid body. Just try and flip it up, you know, go drastic on either side. So I would rate these guitars as a 10 out of 10, perfectly. There's no question in my mind. I've never had an issue with intonation. You set them, they stay put. The necks are always very solid. I travel all across the country and sometimes the world, and that's going through different climates, different temperatures, different atmospheric barometric pressure, all things that can really freak out a guitar when they get off the truck. And Clint, my guitar tech and dear friend, he says, you know what, we just never really have a problem with intonation. So I rarely have to mess with that. As far as price point goes, a lot of the guitars that you saw here, they're going to be higher end guitars, okay? So you can look them up and see what they cost. I like to steer people towards the lower end PRSs that they make because I really believe in them and I think they make them great. And honestly, I think it's one of the best $500 new guitars that you can buy if you're looking to buy a brand new guitar. They're called the SE models, and they also make the S2 model. And this Starla is an S2 model. So it starts out with the SE model, and then it moves up to the S2 model, and then beyond that, you're up into their high-end guitars. So hopefully that's helpful. I hope you get yourself a Paul Reed Smith someday, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.